Hi and welcome to another episode of Degen BJJ with me, Irish Mike, and my co-host.
Degen Drifter, also known as Ken.
How are you getting on, Ken? How things been this past week?
Been good, mate. Been good. Yeah, got back into a bit more of a good flow of training, and I know we're only on Tuesday, so
Well, it feels like we haven't, because we had Lucas on last week. We didn't really talk about that week's training either, even though it was right up till the end, I think. So, kind of probably missed a few bits.
Yeah, no, it's been good. Work's been a bit busy, but because I live 2 minutes from the gym, I've been able to get some good training in. Like you mentioned, just want to shout out Lucas for coming to see us last week. It was it was lovely. We've had some nice feedback on the episode. So
Very good, yeah.
Appreciate him.
He's a nice guy as well, so it's easy to get good shout offs off good people, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll have him on again for sure, and have some other people on as well. But for today, it's just me and you, mate. So
yeah, they're going to have to just put up with the two of us again.
Yeah, have to settle.
Getting a lot of good positive, as you say, a lot of DMs and messages off people, you know.
Yeah,
shout out a few people that shouted us out, gave us a bit of respect.
Yeah, it'd be good to get some recognition to the people that are listening along. So some of the ones from Spotify that I saw was Matt Blout, who I've actually never met. He was a fella that trained at SBG.
I remember he showed me shout out.
Yeah, so I think I tagged him in a Insta story as well. But no, appreciate the listen. If you're still listening, mate, I'll definitely be looking to call in when I'm next up that way. Also, Steve Wright, not the Radio 2 personality, Steve Wright from
our own gym.
Yeah, he's a top fella, and he's been listening along, and he's given us a lot of love along the way. So yeah, big up Steve. Have you got any that have come through on the other socials, mate?
Yeah, to be honest, there's a fella, Andrew F. Quinn. He's known on Insta as the Limerick Globetrotter. He actually has his own podcast, so it's called Human Jiu-Jitsu, if I'm saying that right. Sorry, mate, if I'm slandering it, but he's 109 episodes and 50 Patreon episodes, and he's talked to people like that Chewy from Jiu-Jitsu. So, like, to get
Human Z, like chimpanzee.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Humans Jiu-Jitsu. Okay. Yeah, so he's been, I've been DMing him in a bit, and it's just nice for someone who's gone that far. Like, he's 109 episodes in. Every episode he nearly has someone from Ireland or around the world that competes. And like high level people, so
that's wicked.
He's more of a proper jiu-jitsu podcast than us, but for him to give us a bit of shine, you know. And he said he's still listening, so I gave a listen to his first episode and his latest episode. I got halfway through the latest one, but I'm listening to it on the commute at the moment, and it's quite good. Like, even for someone like me that doesn't really get, as I say, you know as well as I do, I don't get into listening to proper jiu-jitsu podcasts, but I will
get into it now, mate. You're part of the community.
I will give him a shout out, and we'll tag him in the Spotify link if you're looking for something a bit more jiu-jitsu content from people that are competing about. We also will hope to get more as we grow our podcast. We'll go and grow our guests as well.
We'll bring some guests on, but those guys are like at the sharp end.
I think it's such a niche thing that, like, there's enough listeners to go around, especially with our podcast only being 30 to 40 minutes long, you know.
For sure, mate. There's definitely enough listeners to go around. Other people that came through on Spotify, Leo Lay, a fellow I work with, who's a legend. He's been giving us lots of love and support, so big up, Leo. We'll try and get into some of your questions a bit later, mate. If we don't have time for them, we'll find time to get to them another time. Boyce, who offered more evidence that unfortunately this whole thing was my idea, with his comment about, apparently years ago I was saying I wanted to start a podcast over a chess game, so
maybe that was the time when podcasts were a fad, though. I think we got in late. Like, we're late to the game, aren't we, really?
We're definitely late to the party. But, you know, we're having fun doing it. So
yeah, it's
at least there's that.
It's another extension of jiu-jitsu for us, isn't it? So
you get to... Actually, I've got to tell you the real reason, mate, is I'm actually too cheap to pay for therapy. So I just want you to sit across the room and listen to my problems once a week.
Well, I'm not very good at handling that stuff, as I'm emotionally retarded. So you're probably just getting a soundboard that you need that's not actually going to tell you what you want to hear, and just go, Jesus, that's terrible. Yeah, that's great.
That's why I picked you.
Yeah, you know your audience, isn't it? But
anyone else come through on Insta? So if anyone isn't aware that Michael, if you're speaking to the Instagram, it is Michael. Occasionally I pop on, and if I reply, I'll usually say that it's me. But it's a safe bet.
Yeah, you'll know by the way the words are strung together. If you can barely read the sentence, it's me. You know, and if it's very articulated, it's Ken. But I mean, we had Bobby did us an all favour there, our mate Bobby Churchhouse, have to shout him out from our gym. There was a tag because we had Lucas on the Us Nation on Insta. They had a question like who's an unknown grappler that we should know about.
It was to shout out an unknown British black belt, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like
that. Something along those lines. And,
like, so we all jumped up. Bobby said everybody put Lucas's name in the chat, and we all did, like, because that's the way we are.
Hype him up and get him some attention.
Yeah, and he got in all shared. They shared a video of his training, which sort of other things about that we won't go into. That's nothing to do with us.
Yeah, I'm not involved in any of that.
Yeah,
you messaged me and I was like, this is
nothing to do with us.
I'm not. Anyway, move swiftly on.
But
copyright infringement in the jiu-jitsu world.
Which we're not going to get involved in. We're just trying to help everyone out here. Matt Vega, could be saying his name wrong. He contacted me personally on my Instagram account, and
he's the fellow that runs Us Nation. He runs
Us Nation, yeah, and he said he'd be interested in coming on the podcast. So that might be something we might look at down the line.
Can let him do. Ask him how to pronounce his name.
In case we're slandering.
We had a little bit of a back and forth there, Matt. So if we've mispronounced it, apologies. But please do come on in the near future. Be good to hear what you're doing on the platform and how you kind of built your following and where you hope to take it. That was one to look out for the future. But that's another, I know we keep banging on about the community and the community spirit within jiu-jitsu, but that is what keeps you training, isn't it? So
100%, because maybe you sent me a message the other day, someone sent you a message and said, really love the podcast, blah, blah, and the Irish fella that. And I was just like, that made my Friday. Like, even just one person sending a message, it makes it worth doing it. Like, even though, like, we've a small, we're not expecting this to go mad and become famous after it. We're not that naive or stupid. Like, we just do this because it's another extension of jiu-jitsu, and we get to shout out all our great mates that, we think if we have some funny stories and that they have shared. Like,
that's it. It's a good joke. Like I say, free therapy aside, mate, it's good to be able to shout out some of the gyms in the southeast. It's a growing sport in the UK. More and more people are doing it. A lot of people, like I say, are going to be like us. So it's nice to give our mates who are, maybe competing at a bit more of a higher level than we are, a platform on which they can make some statements and us to shout out some of the gyms where they're doing that training, and our home gym, obviously.
I was just going to say, I think we've been shouting Carlton Gracie for the rafters not on purposely, but not that we've anything against them either, but Matt House really deserves to have a shout out because it is our home base. And
I think we've been plenty complimentary with it, with the talking about the schedule and the facilities we've got.
Yeah.
And that, like I say, is the community is definitely what keeps people coming back to the training, in my opinion. We were talking, like you say, Bobby just got in touch with us to kind of give Luke a boost, and it ended up resulting in our podcast.
In something in our favour,
getting shared, and then Matt saying, just with a quick back and forth. Was that with yourself, or he said he come off the guest?
It was just, I just said, I was actually out for pints at the time, you're saying, is that news, like, but I said, look, we'll have a proper conversation when I'm not having a few beers in me, but he was open to it, and I say just another member of the jiu-jitsu community being just positive and trying to help other people along, which is great, and he's 35,000 following, so, that's good for us, and he did repost our stuff as well.
Yeah, no, he circled us, tagged us. No,
so that's a sound guy in my opinion.
So that community aspect obviously is one of the things I've noticed with jiu-jitsu wherever I've gone with it.
Yeah. Have you any stories like from when you're out foreign or anything like that would revolve around the community kind of a vibe or anything like that?
Yeah, I actually it tacks on really nicely to the end of the Rio story. So I'll set a little bit of a scene, but I ended up training at in a place called Ilha Grande, which is an island that's it's about 3-4 hours from Rio, and it's got no roads, no cars. It's that sort of place where you have to get a little ferry across to it that runs like twice a day. But I'll set the scene of how I ended up there, because the context of it in the comparison to Rio is kind of funny. So, like I was saying in the last one when I was talking about training in Rio at Carlson's.
You went into the shop and you didn't know, and you had to walk upstairs. There was a flip-flop shop or something like that.
Yeah, exactly that. It was that the entry to the flats that were alongside that. That ended up being my regular gym that I was training at when I was out there. I was training, but I was volunteering at the hostel because I obviously didn't want to pay accommodation where possible.
All right, so you could, if you volunteer, you wouldn't have to pay for
Yeah.
accommodation.
So pretty much I went out there for carnival when I was a guest in the hostel.
So are you, just to be clear, you're doing that just to get the money off and not because you're a nice person?
Just to get the free bed, really, mate, and also to meet people. So the way I fell into it was everyone goes out there for carnival, right, and they volunteer at hostels to get the free beds.
Okay.
And they'll want you to sign up for like a month, but at the moment there's no contracts. At the moment carnival's
Over,
over,
you're
everyone's
gone. Split.
Everyone's bailed on it. So
you don't have to feel too bad though, because you've done your bit for a community there as well, like, so I mean that's something positive, isn't it?
exactly, you know, and you've met some cool people, and all the hostel owners really know what's going on. But I was out there as a guest for carnival, and then when carnival ended and I started training, the barman just dipped. An American fellow just dipped, so they were left without a barman. And I was like, you know what, I planned on leaving Rio after I think the 10 days, but I was like, you know what, I fancy staying here a little bit longer.
Hang around, yeah.
So Freddie, shout out Freddie, he gave me many a second chance. He was the manager of the hostel, an Argentinian geezer, and he was like, you know what, you know, we got on, we'd partied a bit through carnival. He was like, I'll let you work the bar if you want. You just have to work, I think it was 6 nights a week. I'd work this bar, and I'd get
how many hours
I'd get
would that
one
be?
night off, probably 4 or 5 hours.
Okay.
And I'd just be making drinks for the guests when they came in, and then I'd get like a free bed for as long as I was volunteering.
It's like HelpX or WorkX that you do in many foreign countries. If you do 3 or 4 hours work, they'll give you a bed and board, and then you've the rest of the time to do what you
That's
want.
pretty much it. Was that, but I hadn't found it in advance.
Yeah,
like, loads of backpackers do it. So I'd got this deal with him, and they gave me breakfast and stuff as well, and it was going pretty well. You know, living on 2 blocks back from Copacabana Beach, just up the road from where I was training. But me being me,
You want to wander, the feet got itchy.
Well, I kept skipping before the feet had got itchy. Even like they nearly got asked to leave because I was like,
you weren't doing any work.
Well, I was like, I was doing a bit of work, but I was skipping work, these bar shifts to go train, and then sometimes I'd skip to go out for a drink, and then, you know, sometimes I'd just be skipping because.
So basically, it's 3 days, you haven't done any work, why are you getting a free bed?
Yeah, but like I say to Freddie, fair play to him. He gave me many a second chance, and then it came to the point where, you know, feet were getting a little bit itchy, and he was like, you know what, mate, if you miss another shift, you're going to have to,
vacate the premises.
We're going to have to call it a day here.
Did he say it that nice?
Pretty much, yeah. No, he's a lovely guy. He's actually liked one of the podcast posts. So
really?
That's why I shouted him out. I think he lives on Ilha Grande, where he did for a bit after this, because we still follow each other on Insta and spoke a little bit. But yeah, he ended up there somehow after I was there. But I was on the mats one day at Carlson's in Rio, chatting to this blue belt David, he had perfect English. You know, he'd lived in London for a bit, trained at HQ, at Rogers spot. And then he was saying, like, I was saying, like, oh, you know what, I've been in Rio a while now, about a month. I'm thinking about what's next. And he was like, you've got to go to Ilha Grande. You've got to go to the Big Island, he called it. He just translated, Ilha Grande in Portuguese translates directly as Big Island. So
you have to, assume everyone's as stupid as I am, yeah. Just
drop
drop them little bombs and all
that.
that.
Saying to me, you've got to go to Big Island. You can't come here and not go to the Big Island. So I was like, okay. So then Freddie later that evening was like, mate, if you miss one more shift, you're done. I was like, you know what, mate? I was thinking about calling it
that kind of helps
soon,
you.
Moving on.
Yeah.
I was thinking about going to Ilha Grande, and this is how much they obviously wanted me gone. He was like, I can arrange. He's like, I can have a bus here tomorrow morning, take you to the ferry port.
He's like, let's get rid of this Englishman that doesn't want to do any work.
He's like, finally, I can replace it. Like, because he obviously liked me, and I don't think he wanted to tell me to. But I think he'd been getting a lot of heat because he wasn't the owner of the hostel; he was just the manager.
Right. Okay.
So I think he'd been getting some heat from his bosses. Like,
he's probably covering all your shifts.
So he's covering all. He's having to get other volunteers that have been doing other stuff for their board to cover my shifts as well. So they're like, why am I working twice as hard while this wanker's out doing jiu-jitsu and partying?
Yeah.
So then, I end up crammed on this. So this bus that they sort of sorted me out with for free, crammed on this bus with about 50 other people, stopping around every hostel and hotel in Rio on the way to this ferry port, and then kind of the ferry across from the mainland. There's 2 options: you can get a slow boat and a quick boat. We ended up getting a quick boat, which is pretty much like a little speedboat across from the mainland to this island, and it was like I'd been transported to paradise. The comparison, I loved Rio, right? But after a month there,
It wore off? The shine of it wore off, or
Definitely didn't completely wear off, but you know the difference between holiday mode and living mode. You know,
rose tinted glasses come off very quickly.
For sure, it was just in comparison to the city, the hustle and bustle that always, you know, having to watch, you know, not having your phone out, not go to certain neighbourhoods the moment the sun's gone down.
So on that, like, do you know the way you see a lot of videos of, it's usually 18-year-old girls arm-bearing 30-year-old men. Would you see a lot of robberies and stuff like that, like around it, or is it only at certain times of night? Like, you wouldn't want to be in a certain area like anywhere else.
First hand, honestly, I saw very little in Rio itself.
Okay.
Like other parts of South America, namely Colombia, were a bit worse, and those are stories like.
For another
I think
day.
I'll gradually go on country by country
Yeah.
through this podcast. I'll find ways to shoe on in these anecdotes, mate.
Don't tell them to me, and then I'll be
dining out.
surprised,
I'll be
yeah.
dining out on them for months. But yeah, because I volunteered in the hostel, I saw a lot of people come in where they had their phones and wallets stolen.
Okay.
Never saw any major crime. You know, never anything worse than a snatch and grab or a knife point robbery in Rio. But obviously,
yeah, that's pretty bad.
yeah, it is. No major,
just because you live in Redden.
no major crime. What I mean was, no one was ever thankfully, no one was ever seriously hurt. And most of the people
are lovely.
And this message comes from the Brazil Tourist Board. Like, you know, most of the people that did, you know, end up getting themselves in situations where bad things happened.
It's through poverty, probably.
Well, from that side, but I mean, from the tourist side, they'd kind of gotten into neighbourhoods that they'd been told maybe you stay out of it, or they'd stayed on the beach after dark, which I know sounds like a ridiculous thing, but Copacabana Beach after dark is somewhere that you vacate.
Yeah, look, you're young, you go on holidays, you're going to take loads of drugs, you're going to go into these dangerous neighbourhoods to buy them, and you're going to go to the beach to take them.
Speak for yourself, Michael.
Australia was mad. Anyway.
So yeah, I ended up from the hustle and bustle of Rio, there's the city, getting into Ilha Grande, which is I could say I can only describe it as the closest thing to paradise I've ever been to. There's no cars on the island. It's got a few tracks that kind of link up beautiful beaches on either. The island from side to side is only about, I think, 12, 13 kilometres.
It's kind of untouched beauty, so because you've nothing running through it, ramping
Yeah,
it. Humans not fucking it up, basically.
Don't worry, they're getting there, mate. They're getting there. But, you know, there's a few motorbikes and stuff now. But the main form of transport from beach to beach is speedboat taxis around the island.
All right.
And it's like the sort of place that I was like, I'm never going to train. I'm never going to find anything to train here. I'd gone here as a holiday break recommended by a guy at a Jiu-Jitsu gym. But I was like, you know what, I'll just have a look at check Google, check social, see if I can find anything.
There, yeah.
And there was a community project that was run by a black belt from the mainland who used to get the
boat out,
ferry over twice a week, and it was in like a lot of especially the coastal cities in Brazil. They've got a lot of old Portuguese architecture because it was the Portuguese colony.
Yeah.
So it's like what would have been the old Portuguese town hall or something like that, and they call it the House of Community now. It's like kind of, you know, you'd have capoeira on there a couple of nights, you'd have taekwondo on there, you'd have art classes on there, and on their like notice board, 2 nights a week, 2 days a week, there was jiu-jitsu.
How sweet was that?
And so like you've got no, you know, certain times of the day you've got no electricity on parts of the island, you know, you've got no cars, you've got no roads, you know, loads of the places it's just a basic kind of like, you know, real basic houses, like single story houses, but there's jiu-jitsu there twice a week, and that's when I was like, no.
I think you need to explain to people as well about how you were carrying your backpack, because this was a story I only heard a couple of nights ago when we were talking to Connor. But maybe you'd split the space you have to make. Like.
Oh yeah, so I was actually the trip itself I'd been planning before I started jiu-jitsu, and I ended up being like, I was training with the SBG guys, and I was like, I'm actually off to South America in a few weeks, and they're like, I wasn't going to take any training stuff, and one of the brown belts, the one that actually the oddballs and MMA fighters quote, he was like, if you go out there and you carry on training afterwards and you haven't taken your gi and trained, you're going to regret that for a long time. So I ended up about a third of my backpack, a quarter of my backpack ended up being a gi pants and a rash guard. So I had to jettison some clothes in order to make space for that. And there were like points in the trip, like when I was in the Amazon, when I wasn't using it at all, and I'd look at this fucking shrink wrapped gi at the bottom of my bag.
What am I doing with this? Like?
What am I doing with this? But every time when I'd get it back out and I'd train, I was like, I'm fucking so glad I ended up taking that and training. So So yeah, I ended up finding the spot in Ilha, and I went there on obviously, as I've said before, you can't really rely on what you see on Facebook in Brazil.
They're not updating the timetables.
What's on a little notice board in Brazil, like sometimes the timetables are old, or they just just sometimes won't just turn up for that class. Whoever's going to be covering it isn't available.
I can't get across from the island to from the mainland to the island, so it doesn't happen.
So I go there and they're setting out the mats. It's like just puzzle mats on a hard cement floor.
Lovely.
And there are two guys. Obviously, hardly anyone there speaks English. I go in with my 2 sentences of Portuguese. Do we train jiu-jitsu here? I think it's the cat under the table. And then they're like, yeah. And one of the guys, Hanan, who worked in one of the dive stores in the area, had brilliant English because he was so good to dealing with tourists. And he explained that the black belt actually had a hernia at the time, so he wasn't coming over to do classes, but it was just him and another purple belt
just showing up
that were running the classes.
Okay.
They were great, again, no charge. It was like, they'd do kids classes for an hour and then they'd do adult classes for an hour and a half.
Had you many people, were many people turning up, because this is Brazil, so just for an idea, was there many people there in the classes?
When you think that the island probably has a total population of, permanent population, not including tourists, maybe of a couple of thousand, there were probably 20 or so people. So if you think that's like 1% of the population, maybe. Again, these figures I haven't.
Don't fact check.
Yeah, although the previous message was from the Tourism Board of Brazil, they haven't sanctioned these numbers. So yeah. But they were lovely, mate. There was no charge or anything. But the difference was there were a lot of people that were like, hadn't really done as much jiu-jitsu, or were older or younger. So me, after training in Rio for a month or so, and I don't think I got a single tap in my entire month or so in Rio. I was regularly the only white belt on the mat. I was regularly spending the entire entire rolling portion of it just drowning. Drowning in people with superior athleticism and superior technique. So obviously...
Feel like me now.
Maybe. And then I, obviously in in Ilha, I saw a few people that were younger and older, a few more white belts, and got a little bit maybe over eager to get some taps after not having any in a while. And
spazzy white belts, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go to 11.
Bearing in mind I was still a white belt at this time, and very much acted like one. When I thought I had the opportunity to kind of get some good rolls in, I maybe was a bit overzealous, and they paired me up with the 2 purple belts for the remainder of that session. Who
Matt enforcers were coming in, yeah.
Who gave me some fantastic hospitality, but then also, took me out to barbecue some fish on the beach afterwards. So although they beat the crap out of me, the hospitality and the end of it was really pleasant, and they were all great people, and because it was such a small island, I'd bump into people from training around the island. So you'll notice this is a theme in my travels. I planned on staying in Rio for 10 days. I ended up being there for about 5 weeks.
Planned on going across for a couple of days to the island.
I ended up being on the island for I think about 2 weeks in the end. But I'd constantly bump into people from training all over, and they'd like give you a little thumbs up or give you a little shaka or a little os when they served you
some sort of way that we can communicate, even though we don't speak the same language.
Yeah, so it was cool, man. That was really cool. And again, I think that's the community aspect of it, is that wherever you are in the world, there are people that are using it to build a positive, have a positive impact on the community around them. That's
you want it. That's where. So we're saying going from Brazil.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of a nice segue, mate, but I kind of
going from Brazil
fell flat on my feet. So speaking,
going from Brazil to further afield from Reading to Windsor.
So speaking about my anecdotes from the past, we'll try that again and segue nicely into your anecdotes from more recent time. And speaking of jiu-jitsu culture, you took a visit up the road to. I'd never seen it before. I've trained at a few of the local places. I thought you were just heading up to Farnborough, but
I thought it was as well until I just texted Lucas and he said, no, it's on at this place. And I loved the way they like to train at places where there's no showers. I really love that. I can't emphasise how much that is.
No, they don't mind where they train, as long as there isn't a shower.
As long as there's hard rounds and there isn't a shower and you want to have a pint afterwards and you're just sitting in your fucking really damped down sweatiness. But you know what I mean? Not to be being a bitch about it, but yeah, no, it was a good time. All the guys were very nice there. Lucas was obviously teaching the class. Adam was there with him. Adam Squish from our gym was there with him. Squish actually also said, I nearly got him with a guillotine. Don't believe him. Do you know what I mean? I was pulling on it for a while, but he ended up flattening me out like he always does. He's like a steamroller, just mashing me into the ground. And it's nothing to do with your weight, Adam. Please don't come at me in the next fucking class.
Might be a little bit to do with that.
Yeah, maybe.
But so was this another Gracie, Carson Gracie's, or was this?
No, I think it was it. Is it Tiger? Oh, lads, I'm going to have to fucking check up the name of the place. Fuck, I'm going to fuck that up. But I'll come back in a second and I'll remember the name.
Oh, but Luke was teaching it from Carson Gracie's, was teaching over there.
Yeah, I think they kind of...
they have like a match share agreement.
I think they have a match share because they do the Muay Thai there as well, and then some guys go through other clubs to another place in Windsor, and they train with Keith. I think Keith is another black belt with Carlson's, and they go there. I actually have a picture here of it, but
yeah, put a picture up and tag them and shout them out.
I'll tag them and shout them out.
You remember of the name of everyone there, other than the
yes. So
other than the gym itself. So
we were doing some De La Hiva or whatever the hell. Do you know what I mean? Now I'm not the greatest with the names and all that, but no, it was a really good class. Met some really nice people.
You meet many good people if we're talking about the
community. They were really good, to be fair, and the first sparring match I had, I actually landed up. The guy I was rolling against got injured. I don't think it was my fault.
That's what they all say, Mike.
I don't think it's my fault, but sorry, Ricky, if it was. But he said he had dodgy knees anyway. But it was a bit. He said it pops in and pops out sometimes, so it was something like that. And then I rolled with Richie, a young lad who trains the Muay Thai there, and he was very athletic. And as you know from me and previous conversations we've had, athleticness is my weak point. So I was kind of holding my own to a certain point, I think, and then he got a good few taps on me. But really nice guy again. He had a mate, Harry, there as well. Talked to him a bit afterwards, sound guy. Another guy, Ben, listened to the podcast after as well from meeting us.
Oh, nice. That's
gave us a couple of shouts. Well, Ben has the bluest eyes I've ever seen in my life, actually, not being gay or anything, but me and Lucas had a conversation about it afterwards.
You trying to date him? Right.
No, but it's just...
you and Lucas had a conversation.
It's like if you said Ben with the blue eyes, you definitely know. But shout out to all them guys. Yeah, it was actually a really good class. I really enjoyed it, and probably try and hit something up over this bank holiday weekend again, because I'm missing my no-gi on Tuesdays due to work commitments, which is fucking fair killing me. Because I'm commuting now, whereas I was always trying to get the Tuesday class in, and now I can never make the Tuesday class from Matt House, so I have to try and substitute it with something else, because we have our Friday one, and Fridays it's a bit hit and miss for me, depending on how I'm feeling at the end of the week. Sometimes Magners, if you want to sponsor us, you know what I mean. Magners will be replacing training, you know.
Been harping for that Magnus sponsorship for a while now. I hope it's something slightly nicer than that if we do ever land a Big Booze sponsorship. But if they come knocking, mate, I won't be complaining. So yeah, our place I think is shut on Monday. There was talk of a potential open mat, but I haven't seen anything for that.
There's nothing up yet. It's kind of going to be a last minute thing, I'd say, if it does happen.
So I mean, like, yeah, if there is anyone in the local vicinity that might be a listener that's got an open mat on the Monday.
Yeah, we're down for anywhere an hour around Reading. I'll drive, no problem. Maybe even a little stretch more than that.
Do an away day, have a little chat with you. And yeah, as I said before, come back and slander your name on the podcast very shortly afterwards. But no, we'd be up for an away day.
We're due one. We're definitely due one.
Yeah, I was going to come with you on the weekend, just gone, but sadly I'd worked myself. So that's enough about work, though. So speaking of things that have gone on this week in Jiu-Jitsu world, I know this isn't directly related, but again I'm doing another somewhat ham-fisted segue into the video of Nate Diaz high elbow guillotine in that Was it? Was you? I think you know more about this than me, mate. You sent me that. I think you sent me the video, and you've sent me a few things afterwards. Was it Logan Paul or a lookalike? What's going on here?
Yes. So like when I first saw it, I thought it was Logan Paul, and I sent it into the chat, and I was like, "This is fantastic." You could see him walking up. You see Nate Diaz catch him in a guillotine, and just looked like he left him nicely onto the pavement, and I was like, "That's what you get for being a fucking knobhead." You know what I mean? Well, look. In my opinion, you know, maybe he's not the worst, but like they're just annoying. Like, but it actually turned out for a finish, it was actually a Logan Paul lookalike. Which, fuck me, if that's a career, what the fuck are we doing wrong? Like, I mean, I'm actually more happy that fella got fucking dropped on his head now. But then his head was. Then you seen a video afterwards.
Wait. Was this somebody? Because again, I don't really know the YouTube thing too much, but obviously from their overlap with what they're doing in the boxing and MMA world now, I'm aware of the Paul brothers. Like, was this someone that looked like Logan Paul, or is this someone that's a professional Logan Paul lookalike? As in that's
his job,
his prime source of income.
That's his
He's looking like somebody that just talks on YouTube.
And did you just like quotes prime source of income? That's exactly what he does. He literally just pretends to be Logan Paul, which is just like. And Logan Paul is even in these videos, but you're more advertising, isn't it? He'd be stupid not to. But your man looks about 50. It's like, just take your skateboard and go home, mate. What are you doing?
You know, Nate.
But yeah, first of all, like Nate Diaz is wrong for scrapping in the street, dropping a fella on his head. He was bust open.
He's 39 years old, mate. I can't remember. I think it was on Bisping's podcast. He was like Mad Dad Diaz. Like the guys.
Yeah, but the funniest thing about it then is like, who walks up to Nate Diaz? You know what I mean? Like looking like Logan Paul. Because he clearly walked up to him, then raised his hands and then he's saying, "Oh, I didn't do anything." Don't walk up to Nate Diaz. Like, who doesn't know that? Like, I wouldn't walk up to Nate Diaz and start going on about Conor McGregor. He'd probably fucking break my jaw, and rightly so. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I saw a comment on the video itself actually, and was like, because the video I saw, you can see the fella walk up with his hands kind of up.
Yeah.
And then it goes blurry, and then the neck, or like gets not blurry, people get in the way, and then the next thing you see is the guillotine's well locked in, and then Nate dropping the fella. It's like the comment was like, one of two things happened here. Either that fella had the audacity to think that he could take Nate Diaz down, or at least tackle him in some way, so kind of dropped into that position, or Nate Diaz snapped him down, put him in a front headlock, and then guillotined him. Which of those two eventualities, knowing the personality involved, do you think is more likely?
Yeah, we know that, but is Nate fucked up?
I'm not saying anything.
Do you think he's fucked?
I'll leave it. I don't know, mate. I don't know what the laws are like in America. I don't know. You know, the guy can obviously afford a lawyer. I just thought it was a kind of funny thing that had happened this week that involved jiu-jitsu, and I has crossed over into the jiu-jitsu culture. It's had a lot of share on the meme pages and a lot of comments, and you know that we're in it for the memes, mate.
That's all we're in there for.
But it does segue nicely into something that you dropped into the chat this week about, is it a match or is it a fight? Because what that was, you know, if you're getting dropped onto tarmac and having your head knocked about, I'd say that almost definitely is a fight. But one of the things that I caught some flack from was when I was talking about the Mika and, in about 3 episodes ago, I was talking about Mika and Sean when they went at the AJP tour. I called that a fight, and someone said, "What are you calling it a fight for? It's jiu-jitsu. It's a jiu-jitsu match. It's a competition or a match." And where did you came up with something about it this week as well, didn't you?
Yeah, it was something that was actually, so obviously from the All Stars BJJ competition that was on, that we entered there over a month back, I'd say now, is it? But Tom Hardy was obviously there, and he went against the guy in the gi, and this guy landed up winning the match, and he posted up, "Oh, this is my fight from All Stars with Tom Hardy," and the people were giving him flack on the internet. "You're not fighting. You know, all the boxers are coming on, all the strikers. Yeah. You're not striking." And I just had the way I phrase it is, I mean, if you hold someone in a choke long enough, you're dead. I mean, and that's with just one hold. No, you can.
What you're talking about there, Michael, isn't a fight. That's incompetent refereeing.
Yeah, obviously. But they're trying to say it from a street point of view. But it's like, I mean, there was a big uplash on it, and then like they were saying, "Oh, you're a bit of a prick for sharing that." But like, if it wasn't Tom Hardy, he'd still be sharing his win.
Yeah, it's
Do you know
only,
what I mean?
only got the pop because of who was
Because
in
it is.
Yeah,
And I mean, if you were going against a celebrity and you bet him, would you post it up?
I don't know, mate.
I mean, you don't post a lot of stuff, so you're probably not the one to
Yeah,
go about this.
I'd definitely share it with my pals, and then it might get out from there. I might share a little clip of it.
His body weight _D is his name if you want to check him out. And he's at Carlson Crazy London. Not to keep banging on.
All roads lead to Carlson's by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it's a fight. But by that logic, I guess I can't say that a boxing match is a fight either. They're all kind of sports within a rule set, and a
referee is watching you at all times, isn't it?
And a fight doesn't happen within a rule set. I think the whole debate though is a little bit silly. Like people going back and forth and getting upset by it. It's like, if you don't think it's that, don't call it that. If you think it's a fight,
what do you always say? Well, what's jiu-jitsu? What do we do? Roll around the floor with a bunch of mates.
with a bunch of oddballs.
So I mean, obviously we had a shout out Adam Barnes. He beat Tiny Tempa in a match, and he wasn't all about posting it.
It didn't make him pass out.
No, he didn't. Yeah, it's brilliant. That got sent over and over again into the.
I mean, it's been done to death at this point, but I can't talk about
you
that.
You have to do it.
Can't talk about that event without dropping a Tiny Tempa reference.
Yeah, I have to give Killian Scott. Irish people will know Killian Scott. Love Hate, one of the greatest dramas of crime dramas of all time.
He talks about that.
And when I was a white belt at a competition, I met him as a white belt at a competition, and I was like, I sent a picture of my missus because I'm a pure fanboy of this fella. If you knew Love Hate,
I've watched Love Hate. Who is he?
He's Tommy.
Okay.
So he was there anyway competing, and unfortunately he was getting kind of murked in every match. So it's hard. So I was just talking to him in between, and I didn't want to ask him. It's hard asking a grown man for a picture because I'm not really about that life. You know what I mean? But it was just someone in jiu-jitsu. He was class, and he actually lost the match. He got injured and he got carried away. And about half an hour later, he came back. He said, "Mate, you're looking for a picture." Talked to me for about 20 minutes after. Blah, blah, just two Irish lads having a chat. Really safe. It's just sound as pound, dude.
More sound fellas in jiu-jitsu, mate.
Yeah.
So that's...
Paul Olima as well. We met him at a competition as well. We're chatting.
I had no idea. Yeah, again, that's me not knowing with the influencer side of stuff. But everyone was chatting to this geezer. He seemed like a really nice, tall fella with a slight Irish accent. And I was like, who was that? And then everyone's like, oh, you don't know Paul Olima.
Yeah, I was like, how have you not watched these videos? And we're friends. How have I not sent them chat?
I think you had though, and I think once you sent me one more, I was like, oh, it's that geezer.
That geezer, yeah.
But yeah, no, again, then that's the nice thing with you, I think, I don't know if you spoke with him, but you fist bumped Tom Hardy.
I fist bumped Tom Hardy.
Yeah, you're talking to the fella from Love Hate. You can be chatting away to someone that I didn't even realise was a celeb, and again, it all just ties into that, real, when you're on the mats, that community aspect that keeps us all coming back. We're on about 38 minutes. I did want to get into the questions. Do you want to let them run into the next?
Whatever you want to do, mate. One? If you want to go, we'll keep going. I have no problem with it either way.
All right, we'll do the one from Leo because that links back to the statement from the first episode that I've already referenced once, and then the one from Dev about nutrition and the one from Paddy about how often do you wash your gi. We'll get into in the next episode.
Yeah.
So the quote that Leo references is the old brown belt coach Mark, who's now got his black belt, that I used to train with up north. He used to say that there's only two types of people that do jiu-jitsu: MMA fighters and oddballs. And I look around the room and don't see that many MMA fighters. So his question was, in the first episode you refer to oddballs, and who's the oddest ball? Something along these lines. Sorry if I'm misquoting you, Leo. But who's the oddest oddball that you remember crossing paths with or interacting with in your jiu-jitsu journeys? So I think we've both got one. I've got a small anecdote from up north that I'll tell, but Mark, I think we share one as well.
Yeah, the guy I'm thinking of, and we definitely want to have him on the podcast, and I don't want to throw any shade at him or anything, but I want to tee this up really great because he's an incredible person and he's one of my favourite people, and I think we're just going to have an oddball podcast at some time. Yeah. Not so much in that light, but
yeah, I think
I think he's one of the most entertaining human beings.
Yeah, by oddball, I don't necessarily mean just like weirdos like the ones in the story I'm about to tell in a minute. I think, yeah, it's like just weird and wonderful characters that you get in jiu-jitsu. And yeah, if we're thinking about...
I mean, I'm out as two left shoes myself. Like,
we're doing, yeah, the reason we're doing this together, mate, is because, yeah,
birds of a feather flock together.
Exactly that. But yeah, there's both I think want to get that same fella on in the near future, so we'll introduce him in his own right for that episode when we've actually got a date and time. But when I first read this question from you, Leo, there was an individual that jumped into my mind that I never got his name. He only ever trained for one class, and you get a lot of these. You must have seen a few, Mike, that when in your white belt days, even at our place, you get some people that are very bizarre. They put that intro gi on once and you never see him again.
Someone do you know people that warm up by doing striking things and karate things?
Have you heard the story I'm about to
No.
Because it's... So this fella, right, this was for a no-gi wrestling, it was like a no-gi with an MMA focus class. We'd do a little bit of like wall wrestling and do some takedowns and then some groundwork and then rolling either from the cage or wall or from the ground for the rest of the class. So he'd come in for his I believe it was his trial class or the start of a trial period, and he had his own 4-ounce gloves on. Like that, when he was warming up, he was doing some shadow boxing. He was kind of doing like half splits and like punching the floor, and he was.
This guy's going for it.
He was running around. He had some. And again, if I'm misquoting any of this, it's only because it's been a few years now. My imagination's kind of filled in some of the blanks itself. And he had like, I believe his shorts had flames on them. I want to say his shorts had flames on them, and.
Cobra Kai t-shirt, strike first, strike.
Yeah, it was a no fear t-shirt, I think, actually.
Affliction or something like that.
I'm not even shitting you. I think it was a no fear t-shirt, so it said no fear on it. And this warm-up wasn't the weirdest thing about him, right? And he had and bless him, like, he had an odour like a chip shop, like a deep fat fryer, and
definitely want to. I'd be all over this guy. Let's raffle, mate.
Maybe he'd heard about greasing in jiu-jitsu and he'd got the wrong end of the stick. But he had this odour to him. And about 3 minutes into us all warming up, we're just doing like the star jumps and running around like the outside, the equivalent of what it was a smaller gym, so we didn't actually run the outside of the mat. We'd do like bridging and shrimping drills and stuff like that. But we're in the middle of doing that, and this crowd of very large people come in, and we've got a tiny area at the entrance of the gym where you've got like everyone's bags piled up. There's a little reception desk, and then there's a little round table with 2 or 3 seats around it. It's this fella's family, and they've come to watch him train with, and they've got like fish and chip. They've all got fish and chips, right? So they've got like.
So they've all been in the car, and the car's fermented them all.
So they're sat there like watching, and like it's getting to the point where it's a small gym with no air conditioning or not really any airflow. So you can just smell over the sweaty bodies. You can just smell these fish and chips and vinegar.
Salt and vinegar, yeah.
And I can't remember rolling with him. I don't think I did. I think we did like a. There was a drilling bit where you were swapping partners, like for the wall work stuff, for like getting people off the cage in MMA. And
did he grab a can of Coke in between rounds off the packages?
I vaguely remember him popping out for a cigarette.
Lads, this is cool. This is getting better and better.
Like the cigarette is an embellishment on my part, but all the rest up until this is 100% how I remember this story, and kind of. Like there was no like explanation. Like, oh, by the way, this is my family. They're going to come and watch. So like we only figured that out like between rounds and stuff. He was chatting to them, and we're like, he obviously knows them. And I think one of the coaches when they came in went over and was like, sorry, the class has started. If you want to come to one, you'll have to come to the next one.
Yeah.
But anyway, he left. We never saw him again, and it may have been the class immediately afterwards. But in my head, I want to remember it was the whole following day. We walked in, we opened the gym up, and one of the coaches who hadn't been there for it was like walked in and was like, "Did someone have chips last night?"
It's just brilliant. I mean,
So that is probably the oddest oddball I remember. I never caught his name. If I did, I could shout him out, and I wonder where he'd be on his journey right now. But guys from SBG, Mikey was teaching that class, I believe. If there is a word of a lie in my story, please comment. Please, if the few listeners from up there that we've got, please comment. Please reply. Please let me know what I got wrong, because I remember that story very fondly, and it's given me a good giggle telling it. Like I say, I want to get into Leo's questionable question about our first in the next episode. Yeah. Dev's question about nutrition, that could be a quick beer versus cider conversation between me and Mike.
Cider all day.
Beer for me, or anything other than cider, really. But again, we'll save that. And there was the one from Disgusting Paddy about his disgusting hygiene habits and not wanting to wash his...
I think we need a whole topic on that.
Wash his gear. I think that could end up like railroading the entire episode. But I'm looking forward to it. Anything else you want us to talk about? Any other topics that mildly interest you, or you'd like to hear our take on? Please fire it into the socials or into our ear rolls. Where do they reach us, Markle?
Okay, so Spotify has a Q&A section, as Ken mentioned, so you can always drop a question there. You can DM us on any of the links. Instagram is always best, Degen BJJ pod. There's a WhatsApp group which I keep posting up. I know, look, I haven't been putting anything in it. There's only a few mates that were probably in other WhatsApp groups, but all these things are the best way to follow us. We also have an email address, degenbjjpod@gmail.com. Like, follow, share, subscribe, and please go back to the first episode and listen through them all, because it will make more sense. Even though you can listen to each individually, it'll build more of the story, and you'll understand where more we're coming from, because the episode 2 is trending higher more than anything else. And everything else.
Become acquainted with the lore of the podcast.
Yeah, it's not even like you can listen randomly, but it will make more sense listening from the start.
And as always, play it to your nan, because we know she'll love it. Much
Big
love, everybody.